In your eyes, what's special about this university and then also the team?
I think this team has developed an edge and a toughness that's reflective of Steve Adazio, kind of finding his kind of dudes, and they play to try to prove themselves a little bit, to prove that they belong in the upper echelon. And I think as far as the university, there's a great spirit here. I think there's a sense of energy that I get from across the athletics department. They want to win. And opportunities like this can really raise your profile and show people around the country and show recruits that you're a contender. I mean, look, these guys, if they win, these guys have the inside track to go to the ACC championship game. It's a big deal.
How has BC sort of ascended from that like ACC doormat status to a team that could potentially trip up a #2 ranked Clemson?
I think any time that you elevate yourself in a conference, there's a little bit of an adjustment period. That comes in recruiting, it comes in facilities, it comes in fan commitment, whatever it might be, all of the things that you need to be able to attract the type of talent to be able to compete. Because you can have as great a coach as you want, but if you aren't able to get the same level of athlete, then all you can really aspire to is maybe catch somebody sleeping and pull the occasional surprise. And look, I'm not saying that BC's there yet. It would be disingenuous to say that. But they've made a lot of progress. And now this is a great opportunity to show where they are, a great measuring stick for them. They get them in their place, in their kind of weather, in front of their fans, and it's a tremendous opportunity for them. I think it just shows that it's part of the overall growth process to fit in and become a contender in the ACC.
What are some of the keys to the matchup for BC specifically?
I think being disruptive on defense. Now, their stats are good, not necessarily great in the traditional defensive categories, but where they're really good is sacking the quarterback, causing negative play, and creating turnovers. That's what they need to do because I don't think they can keep up with Clemson scoring without that. I mean, Clemson's offense is dynamic. If this is a clean game on both sides without those big momentum swinging plays going in Boston College's favor, then Clemson's going to win the game handily. But the good news for Boston College is they have guys who can do that. And that'll be a big key. If they can do that, and if they can control the ball a little bit with their running game, kind of make Clemson anxious, when they get the ball, we've got to do something because we don't know when we're getting the ball back, that kind of thing. If they can make them anxious and cause some disruptive plays, that to me will determine whether Boston College is in it in the fourth quarter.
And the weather, what type of impact do you think that will have?
The answer is I don't know for sure. I mean, it's not going to be crazy cold. And, Christian Wilkins from Clemson, I think he's hoping it's going to be the quintessential New England night, and cold and sleet and maybe snow sideways or something. But the other guy, Trevor Lawrence has never been this far north in his life for anything. But he's played, he's never been north of Virginia. I'm not even kidding. He'd been to visit his grandmother in Virginia. Now he's here. But he's played, contrary to popular belief, some of the December playoff games in the state of Georgia in high school is cold. So it's not as if he's never played in, 35, 40 degree weather. So unless it gets snowy, which is not supposed to, unless it gets snowy or it's really windy, I don't know that the weather will play a huge factor on Saturday night.
And what are you expecting from the college GameDay crowd tomorrow morning?
I hope craziness. I hope it's going to be completely filled. I didn't know why they called it the Dust Bowl, because there's lush green grass to keep everybody nice and comfortable here. It's going to be cold. I hope they come out and show how proud they are of their school and also their program, and how happy they are to have this opportunity to knock off #2, and that they they show that passion and share it with us early on Saturday morning. I'm hoping it's going to be a sea of people out here. We always say we can have a great show if we have a sparse crowd, but it's so much more fun when we have an energized crowd, fired up about the day of football, fired up about the game, and eager to show that spirit, in their own way on campus. That makes it a lot of fun.
The game officially sell out the first time since Notre Dame last year. What do you think that type of having the entirely filled out Alumni Stadium is going to have on the game?
I think it'll probably give BC some energy. I don't think it's going to scare Clemson. I don't think they're going to come in and be, oh wow, it's a full stadium. They kind of come in. They've been there, done that. On their stage, they're not going to be too awfully bothered by anything. but it can certainly give Boston College a lot of energy to see the place filled and electric and fired up, you know, to try to help them make a play or two. Maybe some energy is what they need. I think they need to get off to a really good start. And if they can get off to a good start and maybe create one of those disruptive plays that I talked about early in the game and kind of build a little confidence, I think that will go a long way from Saturday night. The crowd can help that.
What is the excitement level in your guys' end in terms of just going to a venue that's not your traditional Bama or Ohio State and getting a chance to come up here for the first time since '09?
I like coming to places we either haven't been before or we haven't been in a long time, because the schools you mentioned, Alabama, Ohio State, they always treat us great. The fans are great, the ones that come out, but they're accustomed to it. So there's not that, you know, that different sense of anticipation that you got at Washington State or that we're getting here. You know, so it's fun. I mean, I think people want to show that this program has a lot of potential in the ACC, and it's not just a pro town. It's always going to be, look, let's not lie about it. It's always going to be a pro town first. Everybody understands that. It doesn't mean there's not room, you know, for excitement about Boston College too, and I think that's what this represents.
I noticed on Twitter last night, I think your waitress was a BC
Susan.
football fan. Yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
Impressed at all by the college football fandom in a pro sports city like Boston?
Yeah, I mean, there are some now. She said "Go Pats" at the end of the little video, so she, you know, we know where her first allegiance is, and she was also very happy that Clemson's coming to town, because Clemson, I don't know if you guys know the tradition, but they go and pick up $2 bills at banks and put little tiger paws on them, and they spend them all over places where they go visit. They do that everywhere. So I think she was quite happy that some of that orange and purple money was going to come rolling into town too. That's always a good thing, right? So, but no, I think that there's been, you know, people at the hotel and people that we saw when we went to dinner on Thursday night. We're excited about the game, and I think that's cool. And I think that speaks to what I was saying earlier. I always love the Patriots and the Red Sox and the Celtics and the Bruins first. I get that, but you know, there's room to love this too. And I think is when you win, that's the one thing about being in a pro town. You have to win. I mean, you're even seeing that at SC. I mean, with all the tradition USC has and success the Rams are having right now, a little tougher for USC and UCLA because they're not winning. So I think that's why it's important. And the good news is BC is winning, and they're fighting for a championship right now, and that's pretty cool. Better shot if he does. I think he's going to, is what it seems like. I mean, Levy did a really good job for them when he came in, and I don't think they'll lose their identity if he doesn't play. But he's such a thumper and a workhorse, and people get tired of tackling him. I don't know if Clemson will, but most humans do. You know, but it'll help if he plays. But I wouldn't say, you know, that if he doesn't play that there's no chance, because I still think it comes down to what I mentioned earlier. Can you force some mistakes? Can you get them off schedule? Can you rattle them a little bit? Maybe not in terms of being overwhelmed by the moment, but in terms of feeling some anxiety about we've got to get this going. You know, that type of thing. I think that's probably the most important factor to me.
Rece, Coach Gazio talked on Monday about pulling out all the stops, and he's previously talked about having like a Rolodex of trick plays. Do you see him going maybe early and maybe off into some of those trick plays we've seen throughout the year?
Yep. The beauty of the trick play is picking your spot wisely, because the counter to what I've talked about several times is having one blow up on you. So you got to, that's been out there. You know, Clemson's aware of that, so you still have to pick your spot, set it up well, not just, you know, try to roll one out there for the sake of doing it. But I do think you'll see BC, I don't want to say throwing caution to the wind, let's just say being extremely aggressive. I don't think they'll be reckless, I think they'll be aggressive, and that's a fine line, and you know, Steve will have to find the right spot on that spectrum to make sure that, you know, make sure he doesn't put his own team in a bad spot.